So here we go. This is an old project of mine. This is from a shed aquarium, kind of like UI overhaul. It's based here in Chicago, and it was one of my first projects when I was in boot camp myself a couple of years ago. So we're gonna go ahead and learn how to do horizontal scrolling up top and then vertical scrolling for the body. So let's get right into it. All right, so this is going to be our starting point for this tutorial. I stripped it down, but I didn't want to get too carried away with the stripping it down too much. But for those of you keeping track, it is an Android frame, and I chose Android because I found that most of my users, when doing testing, were on their Android, so that explains that. So if you remember correctly, we were trying to get a horizontal scroll up over here. So let's bring these elements over closer in the screen here. There we go. And you'll notice that they're just boxes with dates in them, kind of like separated. So what we want to do is kind of select them all and then group them. So we want to do Command G if you're on a Mac. And then for the sake of organization, we want to just rename it horizontal scroll. And if you find yourself on a bigger team too, you want to make sure you stay on top of naming things. That way nobody's lost if they're kind of like jumping in to cover or upgrade any of the screens that you've been working on. So here we go. We're going to drop that into here. And I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of like alignment and spacing and all that stuff either, because that is a whole nother video. And I feel like we need to dedicate some time into that. So if you're interested, leave it in the comments. But for now, we're going to leave it as is. So notice that we are within the example frame. Horizontal scroll is in the frame. We want to make sure it's in the frame. And we want to be able to clip content so that we tell Figma we don't want to see anything outside of these lines. Once we have clip content selected, what we want to do is we want to right click and then we want to frame the selection. So once you hit that, let's bring that frame in here to the edge of the example frame so that we stick within its parameters. Okay, next thing we do is actually not there. We go to prototype. We go to the prototypes tab, and then under overflow scrolling, we want to hit on horizontal scrolling. And then that should give us a horizontal scrolling capabilities. Let's go ahead and check that real fast to make sure everything is still good. Boom, we are good. So first part is done. Pretty simple, right? Now let's get down to the body, and they just consist of those videos that correspond to these dates of the live cam schedule. So they're just different animals that users get to see being fed on the live cam. Notice that they're separate groups as well. And what we want to do is make this one big group. Same concept. We want to Command G and just drop it into the frame here. Like I said, I'm just going to put it right in the middle so that it looks nice and aligned. I don't want to get into the basics, nitty gritty of just the spacing, padding, and alignment and whatnot. Like I said, let's do that for another video. And here we go. Notice that if we zoom in, that it's kind of like the content of this frame, or this group rather, which we should rename. We'll just call it body. So the content of this body group back here is actually bleeding on top of the bottom nav. What we want to do is just bring that bottom nav on top of the body so that we know exactly, so that it's not intruding visually on what we're trying to portray here. Okay, so now that we've done that, same thing. We want to right click and we want to frame the selection. And by doing this, we're telling Figma that this is the frame that we want to see scrolling up and down. And then same thing, we go to the prototype tab, and under overflow scrolling, we want to do vertical. There's one more step, but before we do that, let's just check to make sure we are all systems go so far. Okay, nothing's changed up there. That's good. And perfect. Notice that the frame clip is working down here, but it's not quite working up here because the body content is leaking into our schedule. So to fix that, what we want to do is go to the design tab here, click on the frame itself, and then you want to click on clip content. That's to ensure that the content stays within these parameters of you see the blue highlight right there. And then let's click on it one more time to see if all systems are go. As you can see, left and right is still good, and then boom, the body is staying within our parameters based on the framing. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this tutorial. It's pretty short and sweet. Hopefully it helps somebody out there just starting their journey. So peace. It's been a minute, and just wanted to, did anybody get these? These are pretty cool. Just got them in the mail a few days ago. Pretty dope. I'll probably put it on my cap or whatever.